3 years into their marriage, their home was full of laughter and love, yet every unspoken silence between them carried the weight of a child they were still waiting for. It was difficult for Sarima to take in, but when she did, she suffered miscarriages at different stages of her pregnancy. All efforts to ascertain the real cause proved abortive, as there was no medical issue with her husband, nor does she suffer complications during pregnancy. Once again, Sarima became pregnant, and the pregnancy ran into 5 months. Though Sarima remained optimistic, her husband paid little or no attention to her condition as he was gearing up for eventualities, and that was owing to the fact that she lost her first pregnancy at the 6th month, just 2 years into their marriage. Sarima lost the pregnancy yet again. She had gone to the market and was on her way back when she got accosted by a random preacher. In what appears like a mirror of her past, the preacher asked Sarima to reflect on what she did in her past, else she was bound to suffer countless miscarriages. The preacher took a leaf from the Bible and assured Sarima that if she confesses her sin, God is faithful and just to forgive her sins and to cleanse her from all her unrighteousness. The preacher's message came as a surprise to Sarima as she could not figure out how she had offended her creator. The preacher made it known to her that God sees even in the dark. He suggested she goes home and have a deep thought of her actions in the past before marriage. Those were his words to her before he continued his journey, as Sarima was left to count her sins instead of her blessings. Sarima returned home confused as she pondered on the words of the preacher. She could deny her sins, but she can't deny the preacher was right with her childlessness. Too weak to take a step further, she settled in the living room until she walked down the memory lane of she and her ex-lover, Ovunda. Sarima and Ovunda had dated for over 5 years and were deeply in love with each other. Their love was the quiet kind that spoke in glances. In a crowded room, they could find each other without looking. Every smile, every touch, every shared silence was a vow, a promise that no storm could undo. No storm could undo the rhythm their hearts had learned to beat together. The kind of love that makes the air between them almost glow. And though the world may never fully understand the depth of what they share, they know without a shadow of doubt they were going to make a perfect couple. Their relationship remained peaceful and admirable until Sarima met engineer Victor, who had just returned to his clan for Deti December. They met in a wrestling festival organized in Sarima's community, which was also part of Victor's clan. Sarima had no plans of dating Victor, but somehow they clicked and started seeing each other while they were home for the holiday. Sarima was never known for double dating or cheating, but with the coming of Victor, she was left in a crossroad as she became fond of Victor within a short period. She had given Ovunda her whole heart, which believing love was their unbreakable bond. She wrapped herself in the warmth of her new lover, laughing as if the world were hers. Yet deep inside her, Sarima knew somewhere, a man still waited for her, blissfully unaware he was no longer the only one. Holidays were over and Victor had returned back to Lagos, while Sarima returned to staying to Ovunda, who was unaware of her newly found love. Her body was beside him, but her mind wandered elsewhere, tracing the memory of another man's smile, the way his voice lingered like an unfinished song. She nodded at the words she barely heard, her heart quietly betraying the moment, longing for a touch that wasn't her. Sarima kept in touch with Victor, and sometimes she was compelled to sneak out of the house at night to speak with Victor while Ovunda was fast asleep. On several occasions, Sarima lied to Ovunda that she was going to visit her parents with claims of one emergency or the other. Ovunda was never going to doubt her, as their love story was already written in the sands of time. Meanwhile, she only traveled to see Victor, her newly found love. While this lasted, Sarima was already 3 weeks pregnant for Ovunda, and neither Ovunda nor Victor knew about her pregnancy, as she kept it to herself. Gradually, she developed more feelings for Victor and became glued to him. Victor also felt the same and didn't hide it from her. Problems started when Victor took her by surprise and proposed to her in his house. She didn't expect it but went ahead to accept Victor's proposal. Despite accepting Victor's proposal, she didn't know how she was going to leave Ovunda. They had both come a long way for Ovunda to leave without a fight. She returned to Ovunda's house. Same day she accepted Victor's proposal. She would have to figure out what to do and how to go about it. Nothing was going as planned until Ovunda fell sick. Sarima went to the pharmacy, got drugs that helped her to flush the embryo out without the knowledge of Ovunda. Ovunda's sickness provided Sarima with a rare opportunity to get rid of him and get married to Victor, who she had now chosen of Ovunda. She was expected to take care of Ovunda as the rest members of his family were not anywhere close to where he resided in the city. She wasn't going to take chances and would have to think of the fastest way to get rid of him without any traces or complications. Curdled in impatience, Sarima couldn't bear the thoughts of slow breakups or messy explanations. Her heart now burned for Victor, so removing Ovunda wasn't murder, it was clearing the path to her happiness. Within this period of caring for him, Sarima mixed Ovunda's meals with doses battery powder in other to worsen the health issue and probably die. Sarima's action continued for over a week until Ovunda realized he wasn't getting better and requested to be taken to the hospital. Sarima was there to give him the needed support, but Ovunda died at the hospital just before proper tests and checkups could be done on him. By the time Sarima returned from her emotional recall, her husband was home and was surprised to see her on the floor crying out loudly. He had not seen her crying so bitterly except when she must have had miscarriage. Hurriedly, he helped her up. The pain she was going through was staring right in his face. As such, didn't need a crystal ball to see that his lovely wife was really broken. He would do anything to wipe her tears. Victor inquired into what could have subjected her into such agony, bearing in mind that she wasn't with the child. Sarima sat on the edge of the chair, tears soaking her palms. Her husband's worried voice pressed for answers, but the words refused to form. The shadows of her past, something she thought she had buried forever, had found her again. The moment the secret left her lips, Victor felt something shatter inside. His chest burned, his hands shook, and no matter how he fought it, the storm of anger in his eyes betrayed him. It was as if the air had been knocked from his lungs. He never imagined Sarima could be so wicked and vile. Would he forgive her for taking Ovunda's life, or that his only chance of having a child was also ruined by Sarima? Victor's jaw clenched, his vision blurred, not from tears but from a heat that surged through his veins. This cruel truth laid bare, crumbled the wall he had built around his rage. Victor was never going to forgive her. He walked out on her while she was still on the floor pleading, and that was the last Sarima would ever hear from Victor. She would have to return to her village for traditional cleansing and subsequently face the law for the murder of Ovunda.